What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Living Blessed, the podcast. I'm your host, Joevan J. Palmer, and as always, we have amazing guests on the podcast sharing transparent and vulnerable moments.
Vulnerable moments.
Vulnerable
moments.
Man,
I don't know. I could do it though. I
know you can.
I can do it.
You got it in you.
Yeah, I got it.
So I'm doing this new thing where I'm not introducing people. I'm letting people introduce themselves.
You would do that now, right?
Nah, actually, no. You're like the third, fourth person. Third.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah,
okay. Well, I'm Alex Fowler, aka Staff for Everyone, for the Community Podcast. New York, born and raised. Lived in North Carolina. Lived in Texas. Lived anywhere on the East Coast I've been. And I am the Alex Hitchens of emotional intelligence.
I would agree.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I thought so too. I thought you would agree with that. I thought many of you would actually agree with that. I love it. I love that.
So, man, let's get into it. I'm excited to dig into your brain.
Are you now?
Because you're 28.
28.
Very wise, beyond your years.
Thank you.
Like beyond, and I've heard that about myself, but I've never had the opportunity to say it to anybody else.
Really? Okay, I'm impressed. I appreciate it.
Few, but it's very, very few.
Okay.
That I've said that to, and
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
man.
yeah. So the crazy thing is though, this is our first time meeting in person.
It is our very first time.
We connected via IG.
We did.
Through, I think, was it Brandon?
It was through Brandon.
Was his page or a post or something?
Something. He was doing something foolish.
Of course.
Something foolish.
Yep.
And we both was like, yeah, nah, Brandon, we can't slide with that one, dog. Nah, dog. Brandon. I don't remember which one it is, but I'll find it, Brandon.
Absolutely.
But yeah, man.
Yeah, man. So let's dig into it, brother. Childhood, man. What was it like?
Childhood was oh man, it was a fun time. New York is cool.
You're from Staten Island, right?
No, Long Island.
Long Island.
God, please, Staten Island. I would prefer you said Bronx. Nah, not the Bronx. I'm sorry.
Sorry. I'm glad I'm from upstate because I ain't got this problem.
Yeah, you ain't got this issue.
No.
You ain't got that issue.
Yeah, I got that issue.
But Long Island, New York,
okay.
Amityville. Not like it is like the movie, but please don't ever say that to people from Amityville.
Really?
The Amityville horror.
Yeah.
That's where I'm from.
Huh?
Yeah. Continue your interview though. Don't be scared. Yeah, I'm good.
Listen, I wouldn't have had you if I was scared. I may have,
But yeah. So my childhood was church inspired.
Okay.
Everything was 3 times a week, if not 4. Sports, typical childhood. But in terms of like, I was raised by my grandparents. Mom had to work a lot. It makes sense.
That's where the wisdom is.
Yeah, that's definitely where the wisdom is. But I was I forgot who it was. I actually felt like I had to prepare for this. So I was like, I was getting into my quotes, getting into my favorite for this episode.
Why?
Because you know what it is? Without jumping too far into the episode, it's been like over the last 8 months, I've lost my dad, my grandmother, my grandfather, and my best friend, who I'm the godfather of his only child for.
So you lost 4 individuals in 8 months.
In 8 months.
God.
And 3 of those were in the same month, last August. It was my great grandmother, not my grandmother. My great grandmother, she's not from, but she's a Muslim, right? Mm-hmm. So you have to be buried within 72-hour time frame, all that good stuff. And long story short, she wasn't. They buried someone else. So that was something that also played going through all of that. My dad had passed away a week before that. And then my mentor, the reverend that I grew up with, he was normally the person that I would come to and talk about anything. I could just unload, like one of the few people I felt like I can unload and not have to worry about them like carrying it, like the load themselves. And I went to his house after those 2 people died, and I looked at him in his bed, and I knew he was going to pass away in like 3 weeks. So like I instantly started crying like when I seen him. I didn't really cry when my dad passed, and my grandmother's just too much going on. But like when I seen him in his bed, my mentor in a sense, it did a number on me. And then as recently as last month, and I think this will be the first time people actually know what happened to my best friend, he committed suicide.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's been something that that on top of all of that, man, that's been what's going on these last like 8 months especially. But you asked me about my childhood, and I brought those 4 not 4 situations, but those just 4 most recent things that's happened because I was told wisdom comes from hurt.
Wisdom comes from hurt.
And not necessarily like physical all the time, and not just always mental, but just like a good round group of things that cause that. And you have to recognize it, otherwise you're going to be hurt again. So you have to wise up. You have to understand and take something from it, so that way you don't put yourself in that situation again. And you know, you're pretty familiar, mental health and your podcast, obviously. So you know that things can linger.
Right.
Things will linger, whether it's from you, your grandmother, your grandfather, whomever. It'll linger if it's not properly addressed.
Yeah.
So I like to think myself to be someone who doesn't solely have to make the mistakes. Like, I can learn from other people's mistakes. I can learn from other people's hurt. And I was taught to never do anything to someone that I wouldn't want done to me. As simple as that. Real basic church stuff right there. And I took that to heart. So I'm like, okay, would I want that done to me? So I'm not going to do it. All right, that person did it to me. So does that give me the reins to do it? No, because then it's going to happen to you.
Yeah.
Not necessarily that exact form of it, and that's where people get confused. They be thinking, oh, I cheated on this person, but I don't care. I don't care to be cheated on. Everyone cheats, whatever.
Right.
But the hurt's going to come back how that person felt it. It's not going to come back in the same scenario. And that's why I think people, it's hard for them to learn and gain wisdom from situations where they're hurt, confused, troubled, whatever it may be, because they're not recognizing where it's coming from. And then that's where emotional intelligence comes into play, where it's like, damn, why am I feeling angry? Like, I had a great day. My girlfriend just made dinner or whatever. Why am I upset? And then you realize you just listened to your friend for 30 minutes talk about why they're upset. And you guys hung up and you just immediately went into traffic. Normally traffic don't really bother you like that. I don't know who doesn't get bothered by traffic,
Right.
but just an example. Now you're upset. Now you're troubled. And you're not able to identify where it's coming from. Emotional intelligence, man. So it all started with childhood and just being able to like recognize, am I mad because I'm too small? I can't fight back. I can't yell back at my grandmother for beating me or yell at my cousin for lying on me. Like, what is this feeling? Like, how can I not feel like this? And not make it so numbing.
Yeah.
Not make it a numbing thing where, oh, I just won't feel again. That's the answer. And it's like, no, like we're here to feel. Like experiences, you're feeling something. So without, see, I got on a tangent, Joe. You gotta stop me, man. You gotta stop me, man. You gotta stop me, man.
This is good.
So, but to really bring it back to childhood, I was abused a lot, and mentally, physically, verbally, more than anything. And it was just because I was around people who were kind of raised in the same way. You know, it's point blank period as that can be. Like it wasn't anything more complicated than that. And now as an adult, I can see it.
Yeah.
I can recognize it because of my emotional intelligence. It's like,
Absolutely.
oh, wow, that's why you're angry. Like, if I could speak to it, my mom is still kind of scared to tell my grandmother if she's doing something. Like, she'll, can you tell your grandmother that I'm going to go? I'm like, Mom, you're old.
Come on. Mama, pick that up.
I try,
yeah.
But I've recognized it and seen it long enough, and it's always been like that. It's always been that in my household. My grandmother is a disciplinarian, and everyone was like, "Oh man, Phyllis, we gotta get out of here before Phyllis get us." You know, Phyllis, oh man, like she struck fear into kids and people everywhere, but she is coming from a very hurt place. My grandmother didn't really have either one of her parents like that. They were around, but they were either working or doing their own thing, and then, in a lot of ways, my mom kind of became that, where she wasn't running the streets and all that good stuff, but she was just working. She just work. That's all she knew. And that's what her mom was telling her. Like, yo, you got to work. You got a kid at 19. You have to work now.
Absolutely.
You have to. So I don't hold it as much against my mom and my grandmother and my grandfather, whomever. I don't really hold it against them anymore. Because of my emotional intelligence. It's like, I can see that it goes way past it being me. Like it being, I decided to sneak juices into my room, so that's why I got on punishment. Or just anything that might have gotten me in trouble is beyond that. It's not just the simple fact that I did that. And I remember this vivid moment in time where I went to the Scholastic Fair. You remember Scholastic Fair? You had $5 at Scholastic Fair. You was good. You was good. Or if you was sneaky, you was good too.
Oh, for sure.
So I remember getting a New York Knicks poster. Shout out to the Knicks. Shout out to the Knicks, man. I know I'm in Atlanta. I know. Trae Young.
I ain't from here.
Yeah, that's right. You good, man. Love to hear it. And I got this poster, and I was so excited for this poster, Joe. It was, we were bad, so it wasn't even like it was like a really great player on the poster. It was just the Knicks. I was like, oh yeah, perfect. I want that. And I came home and I asked my grandma. I was like, hey, where's some tape? You know, black parents, if you're asking for anything that isn't
out the norm,
right?
Yeah.
They're going to question you.
For sure.
Oh, what do you need tape for? Like offended almost. I'm like, oh, I want to hang my poster in my room.
Yeah.
And she didn't like laugh, like burst out laughing. It was more like a subtle, little closer. Okay. She wanted she let out a soft chuckle and was like, "You're not hanging that in the room." And I'm like, "Well, why not? That's not your room. You just live here." Yo, Joe, I will never, ever forget. And I was only about 7 or 8. And I remember being so disheartened after that. And I was confused, too, because when it's dirty, it's my room.
Yeah.
You know, or when company's over, take them to your room. But now when I want to put a poster that's maybe 10 by 10, I'm crazy, on a wall, out of sight, it's, no, you that's not your room. You just live here. No, correction, you just sleep in there. That's what it was. So moments like that I can attest to, and moments in time where it felt like if this was misplaced, I'd get in trouble or punishment for it, or if I didn't explain something without sounding like I was upset, I got in trouble. If I cried while getting beat, I got in trouble. It was a very confusing time. It was, and I remember being so confused as a kid. It's like, how do you want me to not cry after feeling harm? How do you want me to do that? And I didn't necessarily carry that on too much as I got older, but I remember feeling like pain and actually liking it in a sick way. Like, not even I would inflict and be like, yes. It'd be like, let's say I got hurt in a game, I'd be like, okay, now it's time to play.
Right.
Now let's go. Like, now I'm angry. Like, you know, so like a lot of it, and I'll tell anyone that I come across that a lot of everything we're running off of what happened in childhood. Like, that's I'm a guess and say it's about 90% of what's going on. The program you're playing is from childhood, and when I speak to mine, I can pinpoint at this point now a good portion of the events that brought me to where I'm at now. And by that I mean like where I got my wisdom from, where I've learned to look at it from a different lens and not just because I'm offended or upset or anything like that. And childhood was a big part of that.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, as an individual who is highly emotionally intelligent, and you're looking at your childhood and you're seeing that the series of events of what happened with you, what happened to you, has led you to this moment here in your life. Would you say that? To be correct?
I would say that.
So, what's one moment in your life that you say, yo, I've been struggling to shake this moment?
Struggling to shake.
Like we have like things where we just can't shake them as much as we try. We can be as emotionally intelligent as we want to be. We can be as strong as we say we are. We can be as, confident as we say we are. But there's some things like we all have our vice. We have our thing that we just can't shake, or we have these memories that we play in the back of our heads and we're trying to get them out. Would you say you have one?
I would say I had one.
Okay.
And
I like that.
I'll only say it because it didn't take my dad passing away, but it took just getting older to kind of really like put that in the back of my mind, where my dad and my dad was 16 when I was born. My mom was 18 going on 19, something around those numbers, really young. And for the longest, I just thought it was solely because he didn't like me or didn't want me. You know, what you would think when any parent is in your life, right? And as I got older, my parents weren't together at all for first 15 years of my life, 15. And then one random summer, Joe, my mom was telling me like, hey, tell your dad to get you some sneakers. You know, like, he don't get you nothing. Tell him to get you some sneakers. Yeah. That's the least he can do. And I got them. I got the basketball shoes. And just fast forwarding a year, my mom was like, hey, I'm going on a date. I'm like, oh, that's what's up, Mom. I'm proud of you, girl. Get back on the swing of things, girl. It's your dad. All right, hold up, sis. just 8 short months ago,
like he's in a movie.
you was yo, I felt so stuck. I was just like, is this? Nah, you're just messing with me. You're just saying that. No, you're dad. I'm like, so the 15 years of him not being around wasn't an indication of the man he was at all. Like, me being really sour about that. Like, no, okay. All right, cool, Mom. Whatever makes you happy, baby. Me thinking I'm 16, I'm grown. I'm like, whatever. So it was a very trying time, because it's 3 people, and 2 people are in the honeymoon stage again, where it's like, oh, you remember how we used to do this? And, it's all cool and great, and then you got this child who's kind of not used to either one of you being around like that, and now you're trying to tell him, all right, you can't do this. You shouldn't do that. No, don't do this. Don't do that. You have to do this. And I would just always be so offended. I would just be like, I haven't seen this guy. I don't know who this is. Why is he telling me to leave a basketball game that I'm having so much fun in to go home to watch my siblings? No.
Yeah.
Not doing it. And just along line of things, we just didn't really see eye to eye for the majority of their relationship up until I was old. But that moment in time, I was just so perplexed that my mom could really choose someone else over her children. Because it wasn't just me. It was like, yo, my sister and brother need to go do things, and you're saying for me to do it so you can enjoy some time with him. I'm only 16. Like, I can only do but so much without needing an actual adult. So, like, I became a brother dad at that point of their relationship. Like, that was literally my role. I've signed permission slips. I went to parent-teacher conferences. I did it all. You would have thought I was Jesus Shellsworth. You know what I mean? I was really the brother dad. But just that moment in time and that dynamic, it was something that it took a while to get over, because I was just like, you guys are 2 teenagers. But then when I think about trauma and when I think about what people go through, you can sometimes get stuck at a stage where you experience some really deep trauma.
Absolutely.
And a kid at a young age with the dynamic of both of their parents could be really tough to get through. And that in itself takes, I'm going to just shorten and just say EQ. It takes an extreme amount of EQ to put your stuff aside.
Absolutely.
To be like, you know what? This is just their chance to actually see if there's something for them. Whereas you came along, you're not saying you was an interruption or that you're a mistake or anything like that, but just to say that, okay, maybe this is their time to figure out if this was something that was meant to be type of thing. And, from what I gather, it was a great time up until his untimely death. And it just took me just getting older and understanding more and more with time, and seeing dynamics like my dad's an only child from his mom's side. His dad's side, he wasn't really close with. And even he had a interesting dynamic where he was raised by a stepdad, not his biological dad. I didn't meet my biological grandfather until 2008. 2009. One of those years. And the one time I met him, we had a altercation where I just went upstairs. Everyone went downstairs. We were getting ready to go to Disney. And I went upstairs to use the bathroom. Nothing crazy. But where I'm from, we lock doors. You know what I mean? Because it gets crazy. Yeah. So it's like, I locked the door behind me, Joe. I didn't think nothing was wrong with that. I'm hearing someone damn near kicking the door down. I'm like, yo, what's going on? I'm in the bathroom. What's going on? My grandfather literally barges in and yokes me up against the wall. And it's telling me, like, yo, who do you think you are? What are you doing in here? Da, 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 da. I'm like, yo, I'm just using the bathroom. Like, why did I do that? And it wasn't until recently when I spoke to my dad's mother, where she's like, oh, he worked at Rikers for years. She gave me an example where she was like, there were days where he would be more excited to go to Rikers because it gave him a chance to fight than it was to go hang out with his friends. Like, he was excited to go to Rikers. You know what kind of, I ain't gonna say sick, but you know what type of mental abilities or mental space you have to be at to be excited to go to Rikers Island?
Yeah.
But again, that's me putting my stuff aside to understand, like, yo, for one, I don't want to repeat none of this nonsense. So that's really why I'm trying to find this out. That's why I keep the wisdom. It's like, I don't want to be that. And as simple as not doing what they're doing could get me to where I want to be at.
Facts.
Because I've seen where it gets me at with that.
Yep.
I can just simply not do that and get a totally different result. As simple as that. You don't even have to go digging into deep family traumas, and even though it does help and it's very necessary, you don't even have to go that far. If you've had someone that's directly related to you around you most of your life, you can learn from them and watch them and just do the complete opposite if necessary.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man. Yeah, man.
So,
I got listen, man. Just had to get me going, man.
It's so good.
Just had to get me going.
All right. So, moms and pops decide to rekindle the old flame.
Yes, sir.
And what was your relationship like with moms prior to, and then also your relationship with your mom and parents during that moment?
Okay, so my mom, without it sounding really bad, I refer to her like my older sister. And it was because...
I can see that, though. Yeah.
Thank you. Right. So it was because growing up, again, they had me at a young age. So my mom was still a kid. So my grandmother would still talk to her as a kid solely, not a kid and a mother. It'd be like, go in there and clean up your son's stuff. Like, just crazy talk. Instead of like speaking to her from a mother-to-mother perspective. But then again, my grandmother didn't have that. Her mother didn't have that. So how the hell am I going to expect her to do that? So to get back to your question, it was decent. It was fine. Like, that was cool. That was my girl. We played games together. She used to be able to kick a football further than me up until like I was like 5, and then I kicked it way further than her. We had fun together. We was cool. I was perfectly okay for the most part with that relationship. And then when it turned into her dating my dad again, it was like he was almost trying to coach her to tell her to tell me to do something. And I was so tuned in that I could tell my mother's words.
Yeah.
I know when it's her saying it, and I know when someone else is saying
Absolutely.
it. So that's what would really get me. And I'm like, my mom wouldn't normally care if I'm playing basketball, especially if my brother's at the babysitter, my sister's sleeping like she used to love doing. Sorry, Kayla. What's the problem? And he just sometimes he'd have these moments where, and even my grandmother, where they just didn't like how free you were. And this is my first time saying this out loud, but talking about it, it makes more sense now, where it's like I look so carefree. I look so like I was just enjoying too much at the age that they weren't able to do the same thing.
I gotta stop you for a second, because you just struck something.
Oh.
You said your grandma, she didn't like how free you were.
Yeah.
Outside of just grandma, people in general
Yes, sir.
don't enjoy people's
Yes,
freedom.
sir.
Why do you think that is?
Outside of they can't do it,
Yeah.
or they're not able to do it right now. I think that's a good portion of it. It's not. I think very few people dislike you, like in a sense, like very few people.
Because some people say, "Oh, you just hating on me, you just hating on me,"
Right.
and I don't see it like, because I've been like developing, becoming like this new person.
As you should be.
It's
right.
Wild.
Good. I'm excited.
I'm loving it, and it makes people uncomfortable.
Oh yeah, Joe.
And I'm trying to like digest it all.
Don't let you get some confidence, Joe.
Oh, that's what
Don't let you.
right now.
We see it, brother. We seen it on IG. We seen it, brother. We see you, Joe.
I mean, I'm like a completely like, at January, I picked the word becoming. And I didn't realize what that word would make me become.
Yeah.
It made me become depressed for maybe like 2 months this year. It made me become more confident in who I am, more wise, more understanding, more disciplined. And I understand when people say there's power in words.
You got more? Because I got something to add to that, man.
Nah, go ahead.
So the very moment I understood the powers of words and manifestation was this period in time, September 2017 to November 25th, 2017. I picked up a second job to basically pay for my fun, my car insurance, when I go out, all that good stuff. And it was at Dick's Sporting Goods. And as you get close to the holiday season, things get a little more hectic. It gets a little more busy. I worked at Nike for 4 years prior to that. So I already was like, man, I'm not doing Black Friday. I got another job. So I'm talking spicy, like, oh, I'm not going to be here. I'm not going to be here. I'm not going to be here. And then as it got closer to the date, and they're like, no, it's like mandatory. Like, you have to be there. And I had recently hurt my shoulder early that summer. So I was like, oh, well, I'm going to get my shoulder checked. I got to go get something done. I got to get something done. I'm not going to be able to work. I'm not going to be able to work. Not going to be able to work. I kid you not, the morning of Thanksgiving, because Black Friday is either the night of Thanksgiving going into the next day. I have a lot of traumatic events by Thanksgiving, by the way. I got deported from North Carolina to New York in 2009, Thanksgiving. Yeah. Cops came knocking on the door. My mom was outside. They said, you got to go back to New York with her. I said no. They was like, well, you have to be 16 and you're only 15 and a half, so you have to go back. Anyway, what I'm saying to the power of your words, I'm going to get into that. Don't worry, because that's a vital story. But with that example, I just remember being so gung-ho about not going, and I was praying, basically, that it'd be because I was already injured up here. I'm like, oh, I just got to get my shoulder checked out that same day. I got a doctor's appointment. Can't miss that. I was playing football, Thanksgiving. It's a tradition, Turkey Bowl. And this one play, I remember telling my best friend, Mo, I was like, hey, I'm going to play safety. I'm going to take this play off. I just don't feel like it. And I see the ball. The ball's thrown way downfield towards me, and I'm just like, oh. And it looks like it's falling short. So I'm like, oh, I don't have to worry about that. So I'm literally looking. My best friend already gave up on the play. And then this guy comes diving for the football, takes out my leg. I tear my Achilles and rip the ligament in my ankle.
You tear your Achilles and rip the ligament in your ankle?
From standing there.
How?
Manifestation. I asked for that. Because there's no other way that should have happened, Joe.
But you're standing.
I'm standing still. The guy dove for the football.
So you're here, guy dives for the football, right in front of you. And you're just sitting there.
His arm is just, his momentum carries his arm into my leg and just takes my leg clean out. Rips my Achilles. Because it's unexplainable any other way, Joe. That's why I have to say it's the power of my words. Because I said I wasn't going to work.
I didn't have to work. Somebody's arm diving.
I didn't have to work,
Big
Joe.
Guy?
Semi.
Not
crazy.
I'm trying to think of like the weight that's being carried through his arm.
I'm crazy, Joe. I just asked for it, Joe. I couldn't walk, Joe. I couldn't walk. Like Achilles is literally attached to.
Yeah, without that, it's over with.
So I asked for that, and I remembered. It was like, yo, how did you do this? How did you do this? And of course, I'm telling them exactly how it happened, but deep down, I was like, damn, I fucked up. I did this. This was me. This was me. This is on me. And that was the best example of when I first started taking accountability for my actions solely. I had no one else to blame for that. Couldn't blame my dad, couldn't blame my mom, couldn't blame my girlfriend at the time, couldn't blame anyone else. I couldn't even blame the dude. I tried to. But I was like, I asked for this. I did not want to work Black Friday. And I got my wish. But I couldn't walk. I couldn't walk on my own.
So from that day forward, what's the language?
Very careful. I am very meticulous with my words. I will sit there in silence after you ask me a question for about a minute or two before I answer. Because like, okay, let me make sure. Because oddly enough, I say that's why I don't lie, because it becomes the truth. Every time. I've never played the April Fool's joke on my mom. Like, hey mom, guess what? I'm having a kid.
I played that too many times.
I've never done that. Not never, but I've definitely cut back on saying that I'm sick or that I'm not feeling well. Because shortly thereafter, I'm not feeling well. It'll come out of nowhere.
Yeah. So do you think after that day and moment, that time, that it's helped you become more transparent?
Oh,
in
absolutely.
Your no's and your yeses.
Absolutely. Because then, again, it's so from a lot of people that I've learned. Shout out to the village that raised me. It was a lot of them. You know, my peoples had to work a lot, so I had grandfather friends, I had Boy Scouts, I had any and every type of support outside of the family that you could possibly have. So I've had a lot of wise older men, younger men, women. I was everybody. So like I say that to say that it's been a process to make sure that I'm a man of my word. Because naturally you might say yes to things and you might just not want to do them anymore.
Right.
Whether it's you don't feel good, something might happen between you and the person that you might not see eye to eye. But with the power of the words and just with how I was raised, it's important that I stick to what I say yes to and what I say no to. Can I change my mind? Sure, that's fine, but don't make it a habit. Don't be like, oh, well, I'll let you know, like, I'll let you know. But yes for now. Like, if you can do it, say yes. If not, no. If you really have to think about it, like, hey, just give me some time, I'll think about it. But me, I grew up a people pleaser because it would keep me out of trouble. Like, if I made my grandmother laugh, like Will Smith talks about in his book, making his dad laugh, I wouldn't get beat. I wouldn't get on punishment. So I would do any and everything to lighten the mood, whether it's sacrificing my wanting more affection from a family member, whether it's wanting affection from significant others, any of that. I would always try to give, and then ask for a little bit. But then from that point, when I would want to ask for a little bit, and let's say for whatever reason they say no, I would feel so discouraged. Like, it would hurt me so much. And I had to come out of that place, because then I was like, all right, I'm just not going to ask anybody for nothing. My mom's notorious for that. She's like, I'm not going to ask them, because no. And then people are too. But to your question, to the yes and no's, has it made me careful? It had to. It had to. It was necessary. It's given me a code to live by. It's helped me build that code for me to be able to present to a woman I might be interested in, a business opportunity I might be interested in, or just building relationships. It's like, okay, I can admire you because you said yes or you said no, and you actually stuck to it. You didn't just say it just to say it, and you weren't just awkwardly trying to weasel your way out of it in a sense. So I think I kind of answered that question. I'm not too sure.
Yeah, absolutely. It's hard to stay on track in this conversation.
Yeah, it's that. But that's what I'm saying. We went from power to words. I get deported from North Carolina.
One thing, and my brain catches one thing. It's like we're going here and then trying to get back here.
And that's me and my cousin on our podcast. We have the same issue. Like, we have the same. Like, we have to pick a person and a single topic, because I as recently as maybe 3 weeks ago, I went to his house at 10 o'clock a.m. Me and him parted ways at 2 o'clock a.m. The conversation ended at his house at 6 p.m. He came to my house to watch the game. We talked during the game, and then he left my house at 2:30 a.m.
Ain't no way.
And when I kid you not, we talked the whole time.
No.
I swear. Jimmy, we're going to use this clip, and I'm going to show you, and I want you to make sure you mention, be like, nah, that happened. And we had a third person, Sean, he was there for the second half. But we talked from 10 a.m. that day until 2:30 a.m. the next day. And when you talk about, and I was talking about busyness and all that other stuff, people have lives. So for that to even happen in the midst of that was like magic. It was just like, how did we do that? But that's what happened with us. Like, I don't know what it is. It's really my fault. I'm starting to see the common denominator is me, because I hear one thing and I get excited and I think about this moment, I think about that moment, I think about that moment, I think about that moment. But if you try to give me one topic, man, I everything is connected. So I just think to tie everything together so you can see that every situation matters.
Absolutely.
Every event matters. Nothing is too small to where you can't pinpoint that as a reason why you might be upset, why you might have trust issues, why you might struggle to be vulnerable or anything like that. You never know, because you might not remember. You might not remember what the effect was. You might have been really young when this happened to you. But you rather just respond the same way you've been responding for 28 years, 27 years, 40 years. So, yeah, man.
In response to the response.
In response to the response. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Why do you feel people lack emotional intelligence? Because we can, as people like yourself and myself, we can look at a video and see what people lack. Like, it doesn't have to be in person. It doesn't have to be on phone. It's like, I believe both you and I, we have that knack for just seeing things. And this year I've been like on this instincts kick where I feel something and I have to trust it. And I used to always go against my gut. I used to always go against, how I feel. I just realized we don't have any lights on outside of these. My bad. It's
you're
my
good.
brain.
It's understandable. It's all good.
Instinct is I will always go because I didn't trust myself.
Yeah.
We never trust who I was, never trust why I'm feeling this way. And then the situation would happen, and then it'll feel like deja vu. And then I'm thinking like, yo, this happened in your head months ago or years ago. You saw this coming, but yet you reacted in a different way that you know you should have. I've been having these feelings, bro.
Oh my God.
In my gut and my intuition, and it's been like, yo, Joe, this is gonna happen, or something bad is gonna happen. You need to tell that person. I'm like, how do I tell this person this? I had to tell somebody, yo, something's gonna happen to your business. I don't know what. I don't know why I have this feeling. Something's gonna happen. You need to be prepared.
Yo, Joe, I kid you not, man. Going back to the story of losing my dad last year. Normally when I go back to New York, I have a reason. Podcasts, tournament to play in, significant others, whatever. This particular weekend, I didn't have a reason. I just felt like I kind of missed New York, and something was just telling me to go home.
Had that same feeling. My grandmother passed away.
Someone was telling me like, yo, just go home. Because my girlfriend at the time was making sense. She was like, no, because we had to take her car back and do something, whatever, to New York anyway. She was like, no, we could just go, in 2 weeks, whatever. Just call the airline and just tell them, to give you credit. I'm like, yeah, okay, you're right. And then I was at work the next day, and I'm like, nah, something's telling me to go, man. Something's telling me to go. And the last day, I was playing basketball. It was 9:30 p.m. My flight leaves at 6 o'clock a.m. This is supposed to be my, all right, I'll see y'all later type of event. And it's like 11 o'clock, Joe. I had a horrible game that day. It was real bad. Oh, man. Bayonne, you remember that day. It was real bad. And we was playing the last game. And me and my sister, we share locations. And this place was in a remote part of Long Island. Like, I had never been to that part of Long Island before to play. And it was like 2 points away from game. And I think I just scored a layup. I was like, okay, bet. I turned and looked and saw my little sister and immediately knew someone passed away. Immediately. I looked at her, and I know my sister. I'm well aware of the things she do. This is not something she would ever do just for the sake of getting out the house. I knew something happened. And I calmly looked at her, and I said, okay, we got one more point. She was like, okay. I got the ball. I turned around. I had to shoot it from like 25 feet with someone guarding me, and it was a swish. I hadn't made a jumper in the 3 games we played. I was terrible that day. I got the ball, swish, just walked right out. And I found out my dad died. So like ever since that moment, and my most recent girlfriend can tell you, I have a couple of friends that could tell you, my sister could tell you, whoever I've had an extensive conversation with can tell you that even my move back to North Carolina right now is what my intuition has told me to do. And I have been saying it nonstop. So when you're saying it like, oh, I have told people, like, yo, don't do that. Like, don't do that. Like, I'm telling you, don't do that. And even myself, like, nah, don't do that, man. Don't go do that, man.
But sometimes you
do something
fight.
Yo, you do. But ever since that moment, I can't help but be like surrendering. Like, all right, you got it, because you was right about that. And the way things were set up, my grandmother died 5 days after that. Yeah, the one that got misburied, her, right after that. So imagine being miles away on the other side of the country and finding out all this stuff, and you can't immediately get there right then and there. I was able to literally get my shoes, go 20 minutes down whatever highway I had to go down, and I saw some of my relatives at the hospital. Right then and there when it happened. Who's to say something might have tripped in me being so far away and not really around family or people that I know that well, what might have happened? I had to be there. So I surrendered to my intuition. I surrendered to my emotional intelligence. I surrendered to my faith. I surrendered now. I am just a vessel, literally. Like, something tells me to go to the left, I'm going to the left. Oh, well, the right guy, I'm going to the left. You're more than welcome to join. And normally it helps. Whether it's I've left states right before natural disasters, I've left scenes right before it got shot up. Like, I'm just always, something just tells me, like, yo, just go this way, please, please, just trust me. And it wasn't up until last year that it was like, yo, you got to do this. And I've been operating on that ever since. Ever since. My car is full with all of my stuff right now driving. I just drove from Houston yesterday. So I did 11 hours. I'm about to go do another 5.5 tonight. All of my intuition. It's like, yo, go be around family right now. After all that you've been through, and go be closer to family for right now.
You just up and left.
I up and left.
I feel like right now I'm fighting against my intuition.
Oh, talk to me. Talk to me.
Because I feel like my spirit is no longer here in Atlanta. And my time is up. And my homegirl, she's more so my sister's homegirl, but we're cool as well.
Okay.
She tells my sister, she texted me, and some days I just feel like I just can't respond to people. Like, I just get overwhelmed with my phone and stuff, so I put it away. And I just didn't respond to her. So I was talking to my sister yesterday, just venting to her 2 days ago, her and my homeboy just venting. And she was like, oh yeah, Tamika, she told me to tell you something. Your time is up.
Joe, why are you still here?
It's not even why I'm still here. It's a position that I can't talk about here.
Oh yeah, I got you. Yeah,
but it's like, it's places and things that I'm involved in that I have to release first.
Sure.
To release myself from Atlanta. And the thing is, like, now I'm trying to figure out, because I want to do this year of travel. Where I told myself I'm not signing my lease, I'm not renewing it.
Yeah.
I want to travel the world and just podcast and do everything digitally and all that good stuff, and just figure out I'm trying to figure out how to do it.
Go from there.
And it's scary.
Of course.
Because you just don't know what, but it's like you ever feel scared but comfortable at the same time?
That's me right now.
It's like, because you just don't know the fear of the unknown, of course. Yeah. But I feel okay. My soul is at rest with my decision that I've made in my mind. Like I said, I'm not doing it. I'm going to do this. It's just going to happen. I know it's going to happen. God has been ordering my steps due to my obedience. When God told me, yo, it's time to be alone, it was time for me to get my own apartment, because I've just been living with my parents and my sister, like just roommating situation, like just rent is crazy. And I'm driving one day and I just hear God, yo, it's time to be alone. And I know that voice because I heard that voice some years ago when it was time for me to leave my old church. And I heard that voice and I knew exactly, I just be knowing exactly what God's talking about when I hear that voice. So it's like I fight it, but I know I can't fight it no more, because what's going to happen is I'm going to get stuck in a position, I'm going to be upset, and I'm not going to be happy with myself. Yeah. And my homegirl, she was like, yo, you can't blame anybody else anymore for what's going to happen for the rest of your life besides yourself. Yeah. You have to blame yourself for any and every other decision that you decide not to make, when you know you should make the right decision. So my question to you now is, now that you've made the decision to leave from Houston back to North Carolina just off instinct, how would one know what instinct sounds like?
What it sounds like.
Or what it feels like.
What it feels like, sounds like, looks like. It looks like confidence in your beliefs. And I had a brief conversation with someone where they briefly called me cocky. And I was like, no. And I explained it to her, like the difference between overconfidence and confidence. And she was like, oh, wow. Okay, no, you're right. And I wasn't even looking for the you're right. I just wanted her to see that. I know there's a thin line between confidence and arrogance. But by you mislabeling it, because it's so easy to be like, oh, you're just arrogant because you don't recognize someone who believes in not just what they're doing, but who they are, you're causing harm on that person.
Absolutely.
Your words matter. Words mean things. Like, it means things. So what it looks like, it's a combination of EQ, faith, and confidence. I think those three things make up intuition. Sometimes
EQ?
EQ. I saw the abbreviation. That's emotional intelligence. I know it was weird.
Okay.
Yeah. So EQ, emotional intelligence. Those three things can make it easier to see through the fog, hear through the noise, and feel through the haystack for the needle, in a sense, where you're not feeling what's keeping you from what you're reaching for. And those things, it's not going to be a overnight process. Like anything worth having takes a bit, takes some work. But it is going to get you to a point where you're like, okay, I need to leave this job. All right, I'm doing it. Okay, I need to remove myself from the situation. I'm doing it. I need to address this situation. I'm doing it. And it's not just you're holding it off or like, I don't know, maybe. And if my cousin Jimmy, if he was the one to answer this question, he would just say, it kind of starts with your diet, your gut health, and that is actually a major part of it.
Absolutely.
But on a mental sense of it, I think again, emotional intelligence, belief, and confidence is what it takes to be able to do what you're considering, what I'm doing right now, and be okay with it, be able to sleep at night with it. Because I had opportunities in Houston. I had a whole life set up there, but as it slowly, not necessarily crumbled down, but it was more just like, all right, let me go before it gets too bad, or let me go before I regret not going. And it's not because I feel like I'm on borrowed time with my grandparents or my mom or whomever. It's just like after experience what I've experienced, it's like this one was real easy for me to make. It was like, all right, just makes sense. Whether it's economically, you get to save a little more money staying with your peoples. Emotionally, you get to be closer to the people that raised you, whether or not you agreed with how they raised you. They know you best. Like they are most familiar with you, rather. Let me say that. And that could be what you need right now. And typically when I go through things, I like to do things that bring me to a place of nostalgia. I watch an extremely goofy movie. That's my favorite movie of all time. Right, exactly, right? Like, I have no shame. Like, that is my movie. Like, Max is my guy. And, every now and again I might find my SP, play Pokemon. I'll go to my old neighborhood, walk around in New York. Just things that brings me, and Nothing to Go So and No Letting Go. Those songs bring me to a place, and those things, Nothing to Go So. I know it's completely not what a 6-year-old should be listening to.
I've never heard this song.
Oh, it's a rhythm. It's a dance hall music.
I thought so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nothing to go so. Okay. Anyway, the
I know
point
No
is,
Letting Go.
it was a song that I heard when my aunt used to babysit me. That's only 9 years older than me. She lives in Atlanta. Jure, shout out to you. And that age was such a beautiful time in my life that I remember. So anytime things get really bad in my life, or I feel like I'm just not feeling good, I tap into those things that bring me to the happiest point in my life thus far. Granted, let's say when I have children, get a wife and all that good stuff, let's say I can't just now physically be with them and feel that same thing. But for right now, like, people that were there in those times, memories that were made in those times, I either try to recreate them or just talk about them and just surround myself in it, and then pull myself out when I feel like, okay, let's go forward again. So that, combined with EQ and all that good stuff that I mentioned, has made this decision to go back kind of like a no-brainer for right now. I don't know, man.
So, do you feel like being highly emotionally intelligent? Do you feel like there's, let me try to word this correctly. I don't want to call it a burden, because it's definitely not a burden.
No, it's not.
But it's a heaviness, a tall order that you must carry.
It is.
Because people depend on you. They come to you for advice, wisdom, direction, guidance, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And do you ever find yourself being exhausted from having to be so many things to so many people at a time?
I used to genuinely feel the exhaustion. I don't feel it as much right now. And I think it's because not just the boundaries I put in place where I leave their emotions with them and like we'll talk through it and we'll, you know, the advice, whatever. But I leave it with them instead of like going to sleep like, damn, man, just I feel so bad for so and so, man. I just can't believe. And that's not to say I'm not compassionate or feel empathetic about them. It's just like, and I think that's a necessary trait for therapists and counselors, because it's like you hear some of the not craziest, but like some of the most gruesome stories, and you see that person just get up and walk out the door and go about the rest of their life.
Yeah.
And you're like, how can you not think about that at home or talk about it with your significant other or whomever? How can you not do that? And it's actually very necessary that you kind of don't.
Absolutely.
Because if you do, you internalize it.
Yeah.
You're internalizing it at that point, you know? And that's like for people who take what happens at work just on a, not even on a therapeutic sense, and bring it home, and now you're responding based off what happened at work.
Right.
You're mad, you're angry because now someone asks you how work is, you're like, oh man, work was this, that, and the third, and now they ask you what you want to eat, and you're worked up. And it's like, what? I don't. You figure something out. It's like, well, all right, cool. And now, so, and yo, when I answer these questions, I just be ready to go so left with it. And I'm starting to catch myself now after we had that mention of it. But yeah, man, it's not a burden now because I feel it's an extreme part of my purpose. And as a man, and as a someone who's looked up to as a brother, dad, as a uncle, as a godfather, all those good titles, I think it's imperative that I show that if it's purposeful and it's meaningful, that yeah, you're gonna be tired. There's gonna be days where you don't want to do it, you know, naturally. But like, it's never more important than that. Like, if someone comes to you and you're in the space to receive what they have to say, talk to them, open up to them, answer their phone. Because there's times where I'm just like, hello, hey, what's going on? And then it'd be like, oh damn, I'm glad I answered.
I struggle sometimes.
You know? Understandable.
I see a phone.
Yo, I was about to say, I remember you posted a story saying, listen, you might, I might give you my number, but you can't reach me.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, understandable.
I'll see
you
the
do
name
a lot.
pop up, and I'll be like, I'll feel what the conversation's gonna be. I feel the heaviness.
Yes,
of
sir.
it.
Yes, sir.
And I have to decline it.
Yeah.
For my peace and for my sake. And people don't get that.
No, because
my phone lives on Do Not Disturb. Like,
does it really, Joe?
9:30 p.m. 9 o'clock. I just bumped up to from 9:30 to 9 p.m. 9 p.m. until 9:30 a.m. the next day. You cannot.
Visiting hours is closed.
Close. My text messages, I just took off the notification for my text. So I literally have to go into the app to see if you text.
To go see it.
Like, I'm trying to be so disconnected, but still connected at the same time to where it's like I'm moving and I'm receiving at my time, in my time.
When you can, yeah.
When I want to and when I need to versus when you need me to. Because I've been overextending and overexerting myself so much for so long for so many people that I'm not balanced. I'm tired. I'm drained emotionally. I'm drained physically.
And you're like, I'm not even going through nothing.
Nothing. I mean, it was a period when I was like depressed for like almost a month and a half. Yeah. But I think that's just a part of the cycle. Yeah. Like but the thing was, I was aware.
Cycle. Right.
I was aware that when my cycles hit, like, you know, I'm high functioning depression. I have that. I know it. I'm okay with it. I don't claim it, but I just know, like, yo, you're
just aware.
Yeah, I'm aware.
Self-awareness.
Emotions hit, and I go hiding away, and people are like, where you at? Don't worry about where I'm at.
Right, don't worry. I responded. That means I'm alive. I'm good.
That's it. Parents call me, they can't get in touch with me. They have to understand, like, yo, this is just the cycle that I'm going through, and it's nothing against you. I think people take, they take things too personal.
Oh, 100%.
When you're taking care of 100%. Yourself in the way that you need to take care of yourself.
100%.
Because they don't know how to take care of themselves in the way in which they need to take care of themselves. And that bothers them. Yeah. Me being unbothered. People who are unbothered by things and situations that happen, it bothers other people. Like you're saying, I don't take people's stuff home anymore.
Oh, no.
You call me, we chop it up, we talk about it. By the time the conversation ends, we either laughing or we're done with the conversation.
That's a fact.
And then if you want to talk about it again, we probably have about 2 more times to talk about it.
I was about to say, we only got...
we got about 2 more times, and it's like, yo, what you going to do about this?
Right.
How are we going to fix this situation? Right. And I think people really just don't want to be better individuals.
No.
They love these sunken places they're in.
Yes, it's familiar. The saying goes, people People will choose familiar hells over strange heavens.
Say that again.
People will prefer familiar hells over strange heavens.
Why?
Because it's comfortable. You're used to it by now.
But why do you think people would rather? What's the They say if you lay in shit, you stay there long enough.
It's not going to smell anymore.
But you know that you're laying in it.
Yeah, you know it, but you're not going to.
That's like me sitting right here, right? And it gets uncomfortable. My leg goes to sleep.
And you're just going to stay there for the sake of getting the shot.
Yeah, no.
No, he said
you see me move quite a few times.
That's a fact. I would attribute it to several things, man. Like, typically, and it sounds good. Like, a lot of things sound good, but in theory, when something isn't going well and something has to change, scientifically and in all other ways that you can possibly think of, it is extremely hard. And by hard, ease of difficulty is relative, so it really just depends. But like neurologically, it's very difficult to go into the part of your brain that directs you towards change, because you just it's not there in your brain anymore. If it hasn't been tapped into, like they say, you can't teach old dog new tricks. And that is not to give people an excuse to not learn
Absolutely
and
not.
do better and all that good
Correct.
stuff. That is not what I'm telling you out there. I'm merely saying that I understand why it's hard. I understand why you choose this familiar. Like, there were times where I knew my mom should have probably left my dad. There were times where I knew that a couple of things should have been changed or done. Even for myself. Let me speak to myself. I know I should have did this differently.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, well, I should have left my school job in Houston sooner. But I waited until I got fired. I waited. I literally had like 3 job offers, and I was like, nah, I know how to finesse these guys. I'm going to finesse these guys. You know what I mean? Like, I know how to get them already. I don't want to relearn how to get somebody else. I'm fine here. Even though I really wanted to go and I had every reason to go, and I was having a dispute with administration that in the building I worked for, I was just like, nah, man, it ain't worth changing my finesse game for that. And then I waited, and then I got terminated. So it was like, I could change. I had it right here. But I like the hell I was at. The other heaven was great. It was closer to the house. I got to pick what school I wanted to go to. Just everything was the better opportunity. But I said no because I was like, man, nah, because I can get away with doing this here. I don't know if I can do that over there. And that's just me being completely honest about it and vulnerable, because I could have just been like, nah, man, they just got rid of me because, I'm a black man just trying to fight my way out here in the way. I was like, nah, I just overstayed, and I knew I had some issues there, and I knew it wasn't comfortable, but I was used to it. I can come in and give them a reason, and they just fly with the reason more times than not. And that was that hell that I chose. And people, it's a protection. Because change requires you to, in a lot of cases for some people, code switch. You have to now talk in a tone that you haven't had to talk to in years, maybe. You have to show up on time, maybe. You have to present a part of you that you're not okay with being more times than not, for the sake of it being something new. Like, let's say it's a new relationship you're getting into, right? You want to show them all the great stuff. Like, you're getting them the flowers, you're making stuff for them, you're doing all this great stuff. And then it gets to the point in time where, let's say you guys are married and all this good stuff, and you really need something to change. It's like, all right, I've been able to get this far with you with this, but I think now let's pivot to this. And this person's like, why would you want to pivot away from your full-time job? Why would you want to these benefits? We're doing great, the kids and this and that and that, and you're the one who can see is like, well, I'm miserable. Like, I suck at life right now in my eyes. You think because, and I'm gonna use an example, and Deja, it's all love, you know what I mean? But I have to talk about this. There was a time in my last relationship where it was like, she wanted me to go further into technology, and I wanted to come further into being Alex Hitchens of emotional intelligence. That's what I wanted to do. That's all I wanted to do. And, there were times where she would be completely ignoring that and just be like, well, you can do that, but you can also do this too. And I'm just like, no, you're distracting me from my purpose. This is what I need to be doing. This, that, and the third. Why? And we had the conversation more times than I care to admit. And it pained me every single time because it's like, yo, you're supposed to be my ride or die. And you're literally saying, no, stick to this because I can see where the money's coming from.
How many times you had this conversation?
With her or just in?
With her.
I'm embarrassed to say. Where it was like a full-blown conversation, like a back and forth, probably at least 14 times.
14 times?
At least.
You a good one.
Yeah, Joe.
You a good one.
Listen, man. No, I was comfortable, Joe.
Clearly.
I'm
Clearly, because
yo, I was feet kicked up. I was good, man.
Yeah.
But for a lot of reasons, man, it was something that I didn't care to pull myself fully out of because it's like, nah, there's no way. Part of it was like, no way you're really like feeling like this. Like you, like for real? Nah, you're not for real. You're just playing around. But then the other part of it was like, I'm in a whole another part of the country. This is a very familiar person. We worked together, all this other stuff. We dated, whatever. So like this is like, in a lot of ways, my lifeline right now. Like this is, this is her. And it wasn't, I won't go on a limb to say it was hell, but it was something that we should have mutually parted. Not just solely on that, but that's not something small to be like, all right, well, you know what, you're right. Maybe I should compromise my purpose and meaning and just continue to go after this technology stuff because it makes money now. Oh, everything's going to tech. You can easily find a job in tech. I can get you a job in tech. And it just wasn't, the heaven wasn't enough for me to come out of that. And what happens is stuff hits the fan. So now you have no choice, or now it's the end. Like there's nothing else here now because you waited and you grinded trying to get that spot out, and now there's no shirt left because you overpowering. You just I can't even wear it no more. It don't fit me no more. I wasted all that time and it don't fit me no more. I could have just got a new one, got a different one. Chose that person who's gonna give me the same shirt in a bigger size. Like nah, because I got history with this one, Joe. So I think it's just a matter of comfortability, for sure.
This is a good conversation.
Yeah, man.
I feel like we can go.
We could.
We
could, man.
We can definitely go because I got more questions. But for the sake of time and the people, because I think we're an hour in.
Yeah.
It don't even feel like
that's
it.
Light. This is just introduction.
Oh, for sure.
This is introduction, man. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Absolutely, man. It's like, I know we can go.
Yeah.
But for the sake of time, man, we got to wrap this one up.
Understandable.
Oh, man. But I'm going to do a quick commercial real quick, and then I want you to close us out with something wise and powerful that the people need to hear.
I bet.
And let them know where they can find you as well.
I bet. I got you.
And we get this good program off the ground. Because I feel like you're playing, but...
Yo,
This episode... This episode is sponsored by the Embolden Institute. Is my organization where I send out message of hope and affirmation. If you are looking to just pretty much get a daily affirmation to pretty much help you affirm yourself as a man, woman, whichever you subscribe to, hit me up. Text me, 404-476-6780, 404-476-6780. Text me the word HEAL. I send out daily messages of hope. So pretty much if you're going through something or you just need something to send to somebody, text me HEAL every day, 7 days a week, 365 out the year. We are doing this non-stop. We're not stopping this thing. I want everybody to grow. I want everybody to heal, or not even just heal, just start your healing journey, to get on the right path, to start becoming more emotionally intelligent.
Yes, sir.
To really start understanding yourself, understanding your body, understanding your traumas, your triggers, all that good stuff. And then also, I want you to start affirming yourself so you can start believing in who you truly are and what God has called you to be and what you know yourself to be. So text me the word affirmation. If you want to get both of them joints, text me the word HEAL first, send it, affirmation right after that. If you need to add the S, I got you. It's going to come right back to you because I already know how my people do.
That's a fact.
So text me 404-476-6780. Dr. Fowler.
Yes, sir.
Close this out, brother.
All right, man. Listen, so They say emotions is just the brain's way of telling you to pay attention. So when you are telling yourself to withhold it, to keep it in, or you're subscribed to Music Soul Child, you know, the true definition of a man is to never cry, work till you're tired, got to provide. Whether you subscribe to that, the basis of you feeling something is to let you know there's something there that's either bothering you, might even makes you happy. Let's go to the positive side. There's something there that's trying to get you to hunker down and give it your full attention. And you're doing yourself a disservice by holding it in for the sake of trying to be strong, you know, trying to show that nothing bothers you. You're human. We're here to feel.
Absolutely.
And emotional intelligence is that journey, or the journey to emotional intelligence is basically rebuilding the human part of humanity. Yes, sir.
Gets no better than that. How can they find you?
Listen, man, you can find me.
How can they find this good wisdom on a daily basis,
Listen, man. 317th_IG. Twitter's for foolishness, but I do still drop stuff on there. Statcello. YouTube for the community podcast. FTC. Is it FT? No, 4TC podcast on IG. And you can find me at your local neighborhood basketball court or community center, man. That's where I be at.
There you go.
That's
Gets
where
no
I'm
better
at.
than that. Listen, that's another episode of Living Less the podcast. We are out. Peace.